10 years that we've got started, we have become really a growing worker center. And so I like to also just explain a little bit about what a worker center is. And so a worker center is a community-based organization. We're not a union, so we don't represent workers. We don't bargain on behalf of workers. We represent non-union workers in our communities. And so worker centers typically might play 3 different types of roles. They might provide some services, they might play an advocacy role, or they might be organizing workers. And so we as a worker center play a role in all 3 of those lanes. So for example, we provide ESL classes for some of our members to improve their English language skills. So that's a service we provide. We also do a little bit of advocacy about laws that could be implemented at the city level or the state level that would provide protection for workers and make our workplaces safer. That's advocacy. But at the heart of what we do is community organizing. And so I just put some of the ways, some of the things that are what community organizing mean to us at the bottom here. We're always doing outreach to talk to more workers, learning what problems people have in their workplaces, doing worker assemblies where people come together to talk about what issues we can collectively work on together, really doing a lot of leadership development. And from all of that work, providing or developing campaigns that our workers run.
So what do we believe? We believe in deep organizing and participatory democracy. And I think Ashley already dive into like what do we see as deep organizing? And to us, like just like the only thing to add is that it really means that the folks that are directly affected by a specific problem, by a specific issue, are the ones that are the most engaged, directly engaged with the strategy, directly engaged with the implementation of a campaign. And that are also like their needs, the demands, their wants are centered at the core of the campaign. Tennessee has one of the most powerful chambers of commerce in the country. They run the political establishment. And what does that mean, right? That you have one of the most powerful chambers of commerce. That means that they are gonna advocate and lobby for their interests with politicians. And in fact, they've done it. They have advocated for right to work legislation. They have advocated for workers' compensation in Tennessee, which is, you know, it's a broken system, as we might see. In Tennessee, we have at-will laws. An employer can just fire you for no reason, unless, you know, it's due your gender, it's due your sexual orientation, your religion, and even so, it's a very tedious thing to fight in, you know, via EEOC claim. Tennessee has also some of the worst concentration of state preemption laws. And this map here depicts it. I show this to all my new organizers and volunteers. Tennessee is right in black as having the most concentration of state laws that, you know, the way they work here is that they really prevent city governments in Tennessee from improving worker rights through a traditional policy. How do we fix this problem, given the fact that the political landscape is so hostile for workers, and that there's no accountability? So we're looking, we're looking at an example that is in agriculture in Florida. Many of you might be familiar with this. We're trying to implement the worker-driven social responsibility, which was first implemented by the Coalition of Immokalee Workers in Immokalee, Florida. So this model has 3 essential components, right? So first, the workers need to define how they want to work and live, because they never get a chance to do that, especially not in a place like Nashville. Second, we need to make sure that what the workers decide in terms of standards are enforced through legally binding agreements with top market players. So, right, so who owns the project, right? That could be a company like Amazon or like Facebook or like Vanderbilt, right? A private entity that owns a major development. Or it could be also, Metro or the public school system, because they're also owners of specific projects. They're just public entities. Then with every agreement of high standards has to come a clause for enforcement, monitoring, and worker-to-worker education, in order for those standards to actually, we have some type of independent monitoring involved. We have some type of mechanisms for workers to know from other workers what standards they are entitled to. And we need avenues for workers to actually, report any violations without the pressure or presence of a supervisor.